afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to all of our attendees tuning in from around the world. Today's broadcast of Invisible Women in Sport is an Institute for Sport and Social Justice production. I am your producer, Garnett Overby III. All guests will be muted during this production, but I encourage you to use the chat feature to ask questions or leave a comment. We will reserve time near the end to answer a few questions. So now, without further ado, I would like to welcome our host, Taylor Middleton.
Hello, everybody. I hope everyone's having a good day. Welcome to Season 2, Episode 4 of Invisible Women in Sports. I am your host, Taylor Middleton, and today I am joined by Briana Vaughn, who works in student athlete development at Mississippi State University. So welcome. How are you doing today, Briana?
I am absolutely fabulous. Super excited to talk with you today, Taylor.
So for today's icebreaker, we're going to bring back in rapid fire. So I'm going to ask you a series of this or that type questions. You got to pick them fast. You have 30 seconds to answer all questions. Everybody who is also in the call, feel free to answer the questions in the chat for what you feel is necessary as well, or what your preferences are. So are you ready?
I'm ready. Hit me.
All right. Let me get the timer on. Okay. Steak or chicken?
Chicken.
Smoothie or milkshake?
Smoothie.
Candy or chocolate?
Candy. Hate chocolate.
What kind of candy?
Chico sticks, Butterfingers.
Oh, wow. Okay. Chocolate or vanilla ice cream?
Vanilla.
What's one thing you want to do before the end of 2021?
Pick up on my sewing skills.
Right on time.
Awesome.
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. The other day when we talked a lot about your family and their impact on you. So can you just talk about your experience with your dad and being a track athlete? And you have three brothers, I believe that you said. So what was it like growing up with all of that?
Yeah, so my dad was really, really involved in my life as it relates to athletics. Like you said, I have three brothers. We are definitely a crazy sports family. We were all involved in sports for as long as I can remember. So as far as training and everything, my dad really took that on himself. He was our coach for most of my life, even when I started doing AAU and USA, running track competitively. He was our coach. We would go out, have separate practices. He was really intentional with making sure that he was our leader in our life. And I think that was to our benefit because we leaned on him a lot as we moved into our collegiate athletic careers. So it was tough. The boys definitely didn't take it light on me, but it was awesome to be able to really bond with them through sport as we grew up.
What was the hardest workout your dad ever put you through?
Oh man, the hardest. I think at one point I talked back to him when I was younger.
Oh boy.
And the next morning, I think that was on a Friday. I think it was, I remember it was the weekend. And the next morning we went up to the track and I think he made all of us run until he said stop. So I definitely learned that and wall sits. We used to get wall sits all the time. So definitely helped out at making sure I was staying in line as a child with my dad.
Man, when I was in middle school, I was on a basketball team and our punishment, like it got to the point where our coach got so fed up, she would just be like, go run. Yeah. It would just be running like stairs all around the basketball court. And it would be for just like forever. It felt like forever. So that was just too much. But I'm sure
a lot slower when you're running.
Yes. So what was it like going from transitioning out of the career that you had in high school to transitioning into college? Because we kind of briefly talked about it, but you actually started at UGA. So what was that like for you?
Yeah, it was different because, running track in high school, it was fun. I had a natural gift, so my level of taking it seriously was different. But, coming into college, it turns into a job to some degree. So making sure I was taking it seriously and obviously moving from UGA to UCF, I took it a lot more seriously when I went to run as a Golden Knight at UCF. So they had a lot of different transitions. We had a different coach. She had a different style of training than what I was used to. I was a short sprinter. I have zero endurance at all. I would cry when we had to do our time trials for miles. So it was a lot, and it kind of forced me to grow up and mature really quickly because I knew that I wanted to represent. I knew that I wanted to run fast, and I knew that I wanted to be a really good teammate. So it was kind of just having that grit and realizing that I got to do what I got to do to be a good teammate, to contribute to the success of our team at that time.
Right. So could you talk a little bit about, just how you connected with the coach you had at UCF compared to the rest of the coaches you kind of had throughout your career with track before you got there?
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting because at UCF, Coach Jeanette Bolden was my first female coach.
Mm-hmm.
I've had male coaches throughout my entire life. So it was very different. I think that it was to my benefit in the long run because we're still the best of friends and talk all the time now.
Mm-hmm.
And she really helped me develop personally. I obviously couldn't reach out to my male coaches about, some more of the personal girly things that, happen with us, some things that are, second nature and very natural and organic conversations that you can have with a female. And it was awesome because she was, besides my amazing mother, a true female leader in my life at that time. So it was really different. It was a huge hurdle that I had to jump, but it worked out for us in the long run because we have the best relationship.
Yeah, sometimes I think that some programs, like, they don't understand the importance of a woman, especially
Yeah,
if you have like a big program with a lot of young girls. And I
absolutely.
know for like me, I loved my event coach, but we had a whole staff of men, and there was just certain things they could not relate on at all, and they would just handle it so bad. They would really
Exactly,
try, but it just missed the mark. It wasn't there. So
for
I
sure.
completely understand that. So
Yeah.
even with all of that, you work in student athlete development now. So can you kind of talk about your experience kind of being a student who was going through student athlete development while you were at UCF?
Yeah, so going through student athlete development, I know a couple of my friends are on this call, and it was really Ashley Jocelyn and Crystal Peterson that got me into student athlete development because here I am wanting to hang out, go do something downtown, and they're like, "Bree, we have a program tonight." So I was like, "Well, why are they, not wanting to hang out with me?" So being able to see what was keeping them from, hanging out with me, but also, just kind of taking a deep dive into what student athlete development was about was awesome for me. So at all of our programs, they fed us at UCF. So I was very happy to get Chick-fil-A at least once a week at night. But also just the intentionality and the level of care that they had for us figuring out what we wanted to do was extremely invaluable for me. I'd never had those conversations before. Up until that point, I was just assuming that I was gonna, run track post collegiately. So that was really the first time I was introduced into student athlete development, and I really don't think I left it from there. Even after I graduated, and even working with Garnett in the Institute for Sport and Social Justice and the NCAS at that time, I had a heavy involvement with student athlete development at UCF. So still going through all of the programs and helping out with SAC and anything else that I could do. I think it really led me into the position that I'm in now.
Mhm. Can you just talk about how being in those positions kind of got you into DeVos? Because I'm here now and I'm like learning everything and trying to like making the steps. So having a relationship with Garnett and everything, how was that for you, and how did that help you moving through grad school?
Man, Garnett and the team were my saving grace. They know we have exam after exam and project and presentation after
Mhm.
presentation. And sometimes it was nice that they just kind of opened themselves up to accept us as people and not just GAs in their office. They were awesome. And Garnett knows, and Taylor, we'd argue all the time, have very healthy healthy conflicts and discussions about,
Mhm.
different things that matter to us personally.
Mhm.
So if it wasn't for Aaron and Jeff and Delise and everyone else in the office, and Keith helping us out and just being there for us, I don't know how I would have made it through DeVos. DeVos is challenging in the best ways, in the most awesome ways. It pushes you as a person and professionally. And sometimes you just need those outlets that are also going to pour into you professionally, but, let you be Taylor, let you be you, and, come out and let them pour all your problems out to them. And they're more than happy to do that. So I don't know what I would do if I didn't have them supporting me throughout that year and a half.
Mhm. Do you think that did you face any challenges just like transitioning out of being an athlete to being a full-time student and working and being like in a DeVos program?
Yeah, so it was definitely huge for me. It took a lot of prayer and discussion with my mother because my mom is Dr. Vaughn, and I wanted to follow behind her footsteps and pursue my education. So it was a hard decision, but just within DeVos, it was the first time that I was no longer a student athlete. I was used to a sport related schedule. So having, being in classes from 8 to 5 or, being in classes all day, that was very new for me. But I was lucky enough to have a teammate at that time in Crystal Peterson, a roommate at the time as well. And we were lucky enough to run together. She was my host when I came on a visit to UCF in high school. And so we really went through DeVos together. And I leaned on her a lot, as well as Sable and, a lot of other connections that I made throughout the program. We leaned on each other, and it was all those schedules, all of us as being former student athletes, we all kind of helped each other figure out the way to navigate, going through only classes and not having practice at the end of the day, and not having to wake up at 6 to go to lift and everything like that. So the first semester was definitely a struggle, but I think after you get used to it, you realize that this is a different mode that you have to be into. Then it just becomes second nature.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Cause just like, I mean, with the circumstances I was put in, it was like our season got cut and then there was just no school basically from like March to September. And it was like going from not doing school for that long of a time, also transitioning out of like not being an athlete anymore. And then I moved from Pittsburgh to Orlando. So I was completely by myself. Like I didn't really know anybody here. And it was just like listening to all the people like in my cohort, like they are great. They are all very successful. They've all done great things. And I was like, dang, did I miss out on opportunities? Like, what do I have going on? Like, did I not do as much? And then I just realized like being a student athlete actually helps you a lot in a lot of circumstances, dealing with large groups of people, balancing like just time management, doing a whole bunch of stuff and like really being able to connect and network. And just like you, like I was heavily involved in our life skills department. I was in that office every single day. So I think it definitely helped me transition. I still have those people, to look out for me. And I think that's the really great thing about athletics. Sometimes it's like you have people watching out for you that you wouldn't even think of, like once you leave. And I still hear from people now. So it's just like, it's always great to have that family. And then like Sable said, DeVos is a special family. And interviewing her, if you got to have her all the time, I'm jealous because she's great as well.
Sable, Crystal, we have stories for days. But we got each other through it, and that's really what DeVos is about, and that's their intentionality behind putting us in cohorts is for us to create that camaraderie, and I think that we really did, and we all I talk to Crystal every single day, so we're definitely DeVos for life. Shout out to D18.
Kayla Shea said, love the sisterhood.
Hey,
and it's just great, like seeing that from all of you. So it's like going through that and going through DeVos. What was it like transitioning into your career path? Because when you first started at Mississippi State, you were in more of like an administration role on like kind of like a higher level. So how was that like for you?
Yeah, so as soon as I left DeVos, I was lucky enough to get an internship with Women Leaders. And that, that sisterhood, that camaraderie really carried through to that position. They were really intentional with pouring into me. So I was getting pretty spoiled as far as, having sisters to lean on. So coming to Mississippi State, obviously, it's a bigger group, bigger staff, bigger department. So I think that I am really good with, creating relationships and just, extending myself and saying, hey, let's go grab coffee, let's get to know each other. So I did a lot of that within administration, because it can get really siloed, and you cannot reach out to a lot of people depending on what you're doing, because it's a pretty broad based job. It's just pretty random. It bounces around. So in administration, being able to reach out, meeting all those different people, it really carried into my position now in student athlete development. So all those relationships that I created, I was lucky enough to have done that before transitioning into student athlete development. So I'm not really starting from, the jump, starting from, square one with reaching out to people, having them see me see them. So, just waiting and, not always asking for things from people, just saying, hey, saying let's get to know each other. It's really helped, and it's a big part of what we do in student athlete development.
Now, how would you say it was like for you, kind of just like working with administration, because it could be like a select few people that you're seeing on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And then you're with student athletes all the time now. So like, how was that transition for you?
It was definitely different, because in administration, I didn't have any touch points with these student athletes. So I had a very 9 to 5-ish job with administration. And we all know in student athlete development, we are on call whenever. We are available. We are available whenever our student athletes need us. And I think that fits into my personality. I like to be here. I'm a servant leader. I like for our student athletes to know that, if something pops up at 9 o'clock, or if we have a call and you have a question, or if we have an event, that you can call and you can text me. So I think that it's really helped the relationships I had in administration, but just being available to over 300 student athletes was different to me initially. But being a former student athlete, having so much involvement at UCF, I kind of fell in and dove into it face first, and it wasn't a huge shock to me, but it was something I welcomed. I welcomed all the relationships that I could create. I welcomed how many student athletes could lean on me, and how I could be a resource for them. So it was something I was really excited to get into.
So what would you say would be like one of your biggest goals that you want to accomplish like this year for student athlete development, like in your position?
Yes. So, a big goal that I have is to start a networking program that's very specific. But we have a networking night, but making sure that we have a program for our 3rd, 4th, and 5th year student athletes, so that they're receiving these networking tips, making sure they know that they know how to do their elevator pitch, know how to articulate themselves, and be able to talk about what they want to do and who they want to be in the future, is really big for me. We currently don't have that in place, but I am actually having a call about that later today with some people in our career center to put together some resources. So that's something that we have already in place as far as an event for our student athletes. But I think that there's a little bit more that we can do to ensure that they're prepared for those events.
Yeah, I definitely think that would be great, because I know at Pitt we had something like that. We had networking nights each semester, and it would just be like all these round tables with like all these different businesses. But then it's like you meet them, you like hand out resumes, you give them your card, and then it's like after that, if you don't really, initiate any more conversation, you don't keep going like with it. And I think that's been the biggest thing, I think, for me now being in DeVos. It's like, make sure you follow up, like make sure you're still talking to people, you create relationships. And so I think that's something that's really great that you're doing, because a lot more people need help with it, and they don't really, understand that at all.
Sure, for sure.
So being with all of that and all that realm, you are a Black woman and you are very young in your industry. So were there any obstacles or challenges that you faced, like coming in, like, again, you work in a very like high position within administration. So what was it like navigating those pathways?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't think that there were too many young Black women that had been through the athletic department. So I took it for what it was. I reached out, I extended myself, and I was just this lovely little Black saint for a lot of them, and I was okay with that. I think that I don't have a problem where I didn't use those obvious barriers, and I didn't let them stop me in the relationships that I wanted to cultivate. I didn't have a lot of experience working with a lot of older people. Older's wrong, a little more seasoned people in the industry. So I wanted to make sure that I could articulate that, like, hey, I'm young, I'm new, but I can do this job. And obviously, they knew that skin color wasn't going to stop me from doing what I needed to do. But just making sure that they see me. And I think a big portion of that was me speaking up and using my voice. It's really big, or it's not hard in those meetings to get silenced and feel very little when you're the only Black person, or if you're the youngest person in the room. And I think at Mississippi State, it's amazing because we have executive staff members that are females and that are Black. So, that wasn't new for me in that aspect. And they were really awesome about helping me, and pulling me under their wing and lifting me as they rose, and helping me out in my times as I was getting started. But really making sure that I use my voice so that they see me, they hear me, know that I'm here, and I can do whatever y'all need me to do.
Yeah. And it's like just definitely important, I feel, to have representation. Like,
absolutely,
it gives people the opportunity to see, like, oh, I can do this. Like, my first internship, I worked under a Black woman at Pitt, and I was so excited. I didn't realize why I was that excited, but moving on later and like just having different experiences now, like, to be able to see stuff like that, it means so much to me. And again, just like you have Sable and Kayla Shea and your teammates from past, like my mentor, she still talks to me all the time, make sure I'm okay, sends me stuff. And I think that like having that is so important for us, because there's not a lot of us in those spaces. So it's definitely important to keep making it happen. So it's just kind of like, I was going to ask you too, like, how was it in Mississippi? Because I've never been to Mississippi. And when I think of Mississippi, it's not always good things, not going to lie. Nothing personal, but I just feel like there's nothing there.
I don't take it personally. Don't take it personally. I'm from Atlanta, so if you were talking bad about Georgia, we'd have a problem. But no, I mean, Mississippi's Mississippi, but I think Starkville's a lot different. This is a real college town. It's a real family feel. You definitely feel that support from the community. So I didn't have those problems that you might have, thought that I would encounter as a Black woman. And obviously, those things are in the back of your mind as a Black woman if you take a position in a place like Starkville. But I was pleasantly surprised at how welcomed I was, how everyone had open arms, no matter what gender, race, what they look like. Everyone was happy to have me and to welcome me. And that's something I really hold close to my heart. And it's, what's kept me here for this long is that really didn't matter when I got here. And of course, parents, siblings were a little bit nervous, but they've, gotten to come down here and see as well that, it's a lot different. And you kind of can't describe Starkville. You kind of just got to come. You got to come. You got to experience it. You got to be here for a weekend, and you'll have a completely different view of it.
Okay, that's good to know. Maybe I'll come visit. Probably not, but I'll try. I'll try.
Look, come down. Thomas, look, she's been here for a while. She knows.
Well, that's great. And just to let our audience know, we are about to come to our last question. So if anyone has questions for our Q&A, please make sure to ask questions in the chat to Briana. She's been great this call. As we all know, I love having this with you. So really appreciate that. But again, if you have any questions, please drop them in the chat for the Q&A. So to go ahead and wrap up our stuff, what would be some advice that you would give to younger and older women, like coming into this industry at such a younger age than some people? Like, what would you tell them if they're looking to go into this career, or really any career path of their own, just being women?
Yeah. For younger people, I would definitely say to not be picky about experiences that might come across your desk or across your email or across your way. Try to say yes to as many opportunities as possible, because you never know what you might fall into. And also try to volunteer and job shadow and conduct informational interviews as much as possible. When I was in DeVos, I used to pick someone whose job position and title scared the crap out of me, and I'd schedule a call with them. I tried to do it at least once a month, And that really kind of established my network within college athletics. So making sure that you're extending yourself, reaching out, and just trying to soak up as much knowledge by calling people, just doing those cold calls and those cold emails and just getting to know people, but making sure that you're keeping yourself open to opportunities that come your way. As far as our older people, I would definitely say to kind of lean into those younger people that you see. You mentioned this, Taylor, that we look up to those people. Like you said, in your experience of working and interning under a Black woman, we look for people to kind of, give us a hug and hold us, especially in those
Yeah.
roles. Even within here, I've gained a lot of aunties and aunts and uncles in my role that, just kind of see me, pull me under and pour into me professionally and personally. So I think, when you see those people in your organization at your school that are working under you, they're depending on you to tap into them and to, see something in them and help them out informally as much as possible. So that would definitely be my advice.
Well, thank you so much. And
Thank
it's been such
you.
a pleasure talking to you
Absolutely.
and having you here. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it on to Garnett so we can go ahead and have our Q&A for you.
All right. Thank you,
All right.
Taylor.
Brianna, such an awesome interview conversation, I should say. And my heart is so elated because for those of you out there who don't know me and Brianna's relationship, it started at the end of her undergrad. She was finishing up her undergrad at UCF, and you were with me for what, 18 months it was? So
Mhm.
she was my GA for 18 months, and I'm just so filled with joy and excitement to now have you here
Yeah.
as a guest. Brianna was on the inaugural team that actually helped to launch the first Invisible Women in Sport. And so now here you are as a guest on the show. So that my heart is just elated, and I'm just overwhelmed with joy right now to have you, Bri.
Absolutely.
But we do have a few questions. We have our first question from our very own Matt Edelson. And
Yay.
Matt is asking, for those of us not familiar with the particulars of student development,
Mhm.
could Brianna give us a few examples of programs or classes and seminars that fall under student development?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, we are committed to holistically developing our student athletes through personal, professional, and leadership development programs, as well as community service and community engagement. So, a couple of programs we have is athletic identity. We have professional etiquette, which talks about their job search strategies, a little bit about how to network, how to conduct yourself, professionally online, virtually. We do mock interviews. We do foundations of leadership. We do branded a bulldog, talking about their values, who they are as a brand. Oh my gosh, we do so much stuff. Networking night we just had. We do a lot of events to also celebrate our student athletes. So National Girls, Women in Sports Day, National Student Athlete Day that's coming up. What are some other programs that we do? We do a lot of stuff more informally and a lot more one-on-ones now. And then one of the biggest things that I'm proud for us to offer here at Mississippi State is internship opportunities for our student athletes to basically come to me, tell me they want to get an internship, and I'll hook them up with a department within athletics so that they can get some experience. So wide range of programs, wide range of different events and different things that we offer for our student athletes. And student athlete development looks different per institution. So everyone doesn't do the same things. There's a lot of different schools that offer a lot more than we do, and a lot of schools that offer a lot less. So it kind of just depends on who you're talking to and which institution you're looking at. But that's a great question, Matt.
Awesome. Sounds good. Now, this question comes from Sable Lee. You know
Oh
your
no.
girl, you know at least one of your girls, they're not gonna let you off the hook without a question.
No.
And so Sable is saying, as an authentic professional who has arrived in the game, what
Mhm.
advice would you give women of color on being their authentic selves, meaning attire, hair, ageism,
Mhm.
etc., in the workplace?
Thanks so much, Stable. Heavy question. Heavy question. Advice. I think that if you try to be anything besides yourself, it's going to be to your detriment. It's hard um, to try to be something that you're not. And I know for me, and Sable knows that obviously you have to groom yourself, a little bit, obviously, but being authentically you is what people are going to latch onto as a leader. That's what they're going to see in you. That's what they're going to want to get to know, and want to be a part of. So, making sure that you have those people that know you, and that are going to be your cheerleaders in the corner to kind of back you up if you feel like you need to say something, but also having your personal board of directors that are going to check you when you're wrong. So I definitely know that if I have a situation or something that I feel like I want to voice at work, I'll call Sable or I'll call Ashley or Kayla Shay or Crystal and say like, hey, I'm thinking about saying this. And they're like, fix how you say that. You're going to come off this way. And so I really, honestly, being my authentic self, it helps a lot to have my friends and my colleagues that are going to let me know like, hey, maybe don't fight that battle or maybe approach it this way. So it's definitely a growing experience. I don't know if I've kind of figured that out fully yet. I'm still working through it, but it's going to push you personally by being your authentic self in different environments professionally. So just what got you into this industry is probably being yourself. And Garnett, you tell me all the time, I get nervous, I get worked up, I get in my head, I get worried about how I sound for certain things, and it's you that's telling me, hey Bree, just be you. And sometimes it's easier said than done, but that's really the biggest thing you can do is be yourself.
Awesome. Sounds good. Sounds like you listened to at least one thing I said to you, huh?
Yeah, I try to take a couple things.
All right. This question comes from Erica Hansard. And Erica, I hope I said your name correctly. Erica's asking, what do you wish you would have known before you started your career?
Hmm. Huh. That's a great question, Erica. Um, I think that coming into my career, there was a lot of self doubt. And I think that played a lot into which positions I was applying for, what I thought that I could do, and maybe not what I was capable of. So I would definitely think that the quicker you can get that out of your mind, the quicker you can kind of psych yourself out of all of that negative talk, would be the best, and it would be to your benefit because you have to talk to yourself nice, and it starts with you. And if you're not doing that, it's going to be hard to see yourself and to see that you can be in these certain positions and that you can elevate to become this specific type of professional. So a lot of it was me. So I would definitely tell Erica to talk to yourself nice, um, and to not have that self-doubt. You can do whatever you want to do. You can be whoever you want to be, as long as you put your mind to it.
Awesome. Awesome. One last question, Bree. This question comes from me. This is my
Oh,
question to you.
okay.
So, you have worked tremendously hard, and I've had an opportunity to watch you work through your graduate school, your first internships with women leaders,
Mhm.
and um, and you were one of the people that also helped inspire this invisible women in sport. So, as a man, and just for men in general, what can we do as men to not be a burden on women in sport, but to help elevate and support women in sport?
Um, this might sound extremely simple, because it is, but listen. I think that there's a lot of times we say things, we communicate, we voice our opinion, and it either goes under the rug or it's completely ignored, or a guy says the exact same thing and then his opinion is taken seriously, and we're kind of just sitting with the boo boo the full face and wondering like if we were even heard. So I think that it's something extremely simple, but just listening and acting. I think a lot of women are being encouraged, and we're kind of in our moment right now of moving up in college athletics, and we have that fire right now. So just listening to the ideas that we might have, different ways to do certain things, but just listening to what we have to say, and kind of acting, taking it seriously. It seems so simple, but I think a lot of women will agree that that's something that we miss a lot of times.
All right, so men, y'all heard what Bree said. We need to open up our ears and listen.
Open your
Bree,
ears.
you are amazing, Bree. Thank you
Oh,
so much.
thank you. Thank you. I've had so much fun, and thank you all. This is an amazing opportunity. I really appreciate it. It's been such an honor to be able to talk with y'all today. And like you said, Garnett, this has really come full circle, really full circle. I was just sitting in that office, Taylor, not too long ago. It's just crazy to see you there. And so glad that you all are doing such a good job at DeVos, and especially with the Institute for Sport and Social Justice, to pour into these young professionals and give them opportunities like this to speak to us out here, because this has been awesome. So thank you all.
We appreciate it so much. It's been so
Absolutely.
fun
So
being
much
here and listening to you and your last answer to that question. I don't know if you saw me, but I was like, yeah, that one. Just like it's just so crazy because it's just like there's so many men in this world. So
Absolutely.
it's just like, if we're trying to come in, we have good things to say.
I swear we do. I
Like
promise.
we have good ideas. They don't want to listen to us, but it's okay. It's
I
okay.
promise.
So again, I just want to thank you so much for being here and just giving all of us the opportunity to listen to you talk and hear your answers as a young woman in this industry, a young Black woman in this industry, and a previous DeVos alum. So we really appreciate that
Yes,
in you
thank you
today.
so much. I had a great time, and thank you everyone for joining. Awesome.
So with
Thank
that, we're gonna wrap it up. So I believe we have our closing. All right. So tune in March 25th at 2 p.m. for episode 5, where I will be speaking with Dr. Paula Jackson. She is the senior women administrator at Hampton University. And also, please follow us on all social media platforms at Institute SSJ. If you ever missed an episode, we got you covered, and you can see all of our promotion and detailing there.
Awesome.
We do need your support, and we thank you so much. We are a nonprofit organization with our programs that impact various social justice issues. Please use the QR code to support us with a financial gift as we continue to change lives through the power of sport. Thank you. Shout out to our people today, our guest, Briana Vaughn. We appreciate you so much. Our producer, Garnett L. Overby III, our advising consultant, Matt Edelson, our graduate assistants, Larissa Campello and Olivia Wiggins, and our blog writer, Kennedy Collins.
Shout out to y'all. Great work.
We want to give a special thank you to all the organizations that have supported us through the years.
Awesome.
Again, please follow us on all social media platforms at Institute SSJ. We also have other places where you can listen to it again on YouTube, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Also, again, please tune in on March 25th for Dr. Paula Jackson. Also, viewers, we need your feedback to make Invisible Women in Sport the best it can be. So following today's episode, you will receive a short survey. So please complete it and submit it to us. And also, again, we have been getting a lot of inquiries about different connections to internships. For any of the women on this call, or any of the men on this call, please email any internship information that you have to Garnett Overby, our producer, at goverby@ucf.edu. Sports Zoomcast. See us now. Have a good day, everybody. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, everyone.